Here's the thing. I don't want you to forget that you are, in fact, the love of your life. So that is why in today's video, I want to share 6 simple ways to love yourself more this year. Things you can start doing today that actually change how you feel inside your body and mind. Because most of us, me included, are exhausted from being hard on ourselves every single day. The way we talk to ourselves, the way we rush through everything, the way we expect perfection from ourselves. So this is your gentle reminder to be your own safe space. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Veronika, and on this channel, I make videos about self-improvement, sustainable habits, and creating a life you love. If you want to plan out your week with more intention, I highly recommend checking out my printable weekly planner. It's a one-page document you can use every day to set your priorities, track your habits, and write down all the tasks you need to accomplish. If that sounds like something you'd enjoy using, I leave the link in the description for you to check it out. So the first way I want to love myself more this year is I want to talk to myself like I would to someone I'm falling in love with. This idea came to me during my yoga teacher training because our instructor was telling us how one day her partner told her, "I wish you could see yourself the way I see you," because she was talking to us about negative self-talk and how we often underestimate ourselves. And this phrase, "I wish you could see yourself the way I see you," is so beautiful. Because I think when it comes to self-love, most of us don't struggle with thinking, "I'm better than everyone else. Everyone has to love me because I'm better." Absolutely not. We struggle with this constant belief that we are worse, that there's something wrong with us. And this belief becomes a habit, a loop of self-criticism. And so that is where my idea with this practice comes from. When you're falling in love with someone, you're not talking to them like a drill surgeon. You see the purest, most beautiful version of that person. And so I think it would be so nice if we could apply the same principle towards ourselves, at least sometimes. If you were falling in love with yourself, what would you notice? Imagine you're a different person and you're looking at you and realizing, "Oh wow, I'm falling in love with this person." You're noticing all the quirky, loving, and adorable qualities for the first time. Okay, and to take this practice a little further, I want you to imagine you're texting a person you're falling in love with, and that person is you. What would you text them on a hard day? And now send yourself that text message, or maybe journal about it in your notebook. The thing is, social media is usually something that trains us for this worse than thinking. I talk about social comparison a lot on my YouTube channel, how we evaluate ourselves in comparison to others. And this social comparison, it often happens on social media. This is the prime location for it, especially for outward comparison. So if now you're realizing that your inner voice has been kind of mean lately, maybe it's not your personality. It might be a learned response to constant comparison. Next, replace what's wrong with me with what do I need right now. This first question, what's wrong with me? Why am I always like that? It assumes there's a defect. But the second question, what do I need right now? How can I help myself? Illustrates an unmet need. A need that you can always satisfy in a sustainable way. When you repeatedly ask, what's wrong with me? Your brain immediately goes into threat mode. And this activates self-criticism and rumination. Your brain is immediately scanning for danger, for mistakes, for social rejection. And this makes your emotions feel more intense and harder to regulate. But when you ask, okay, what do I need right now? How can I help myself right now? Your nervous system hears safety. Now we're gonna do something that is going to make me feel safe. You immediately move from judgment to care. And I can tell you guys that this is something that happened to me because for so many years, I absolutely hated working out. And I would always ask myself, what's wrong with me? I'm lazy, I'm not disciplined, I'm not motivated. There's something wrong with me. And all of that usually creates shame. And technically, yes, you can go and do things when you experience all the shame and self-criticism, but it doesn't feel good. It's not sustainable. sustainable. And the moment I switch my focus to everything is okay with me, but what do I need right now? Maybe it's rest, clarity, reassurance, food, or a break from social media. And once that need is met, motivation usually returns naturally. In my case, I had that internal belief that exercising had to be hard. Like I had to struggle, and only if I struggled, I would actually see results. What I discovered is talking to myself in this gentle way and meeting all of those needs helped me change my behavior in a way that criticism never could. And that is how we move to the third way to show yourself more love this year. Allow yourself to be a beginner without self-humiliation, because being new at something is not a flaw. It's a phase. But today, we often treat it as personal failure because we live in this world where people showcase results, not process. And I often see with yoga and also with dance, like if you want to go and start dancing, you feel like you can't really show people your first class because you think it's embarrassing. Right now, when we start something new, we often compare our beginning with someone else's 15-year experience in this thing. And suddenly, instead of enjoying this process of learning, you feel embarrassed for not being good enough yet. And psychologically, this is linked to the social evaluation fear, the fear of being judged by others. But most importantly, your enjoyment drops significantly. Think about dancing again. Your first class might be awkward, your body might be tense, you might not look like a dancer, but that is completely normal. It's your first class, you're a beginner. But none of that means you're bad at dancing or bad at anything new you're starting. It just means you're learning. When you allow yourself to experiment and move the way you can right now, your nervous system can finally relax. And relaxed bodies learn faster. Enjoyment finally comes back. This pressure to be perfect from the very beginning immediately makes people quit things they would have enjoyed if they had let themselves be beginners. So let yourself do things badly. Let yourself not know. Alright, the next way I want to show love towards myself more this year is marking important days in my calendar and celebrating them. This is something that I thought about a lot during Christmas holidays and New Year's because I started thinking about all the magic of Christmas that I felt when I was a kid. You know, the special energy, the excitement. And the reason why I felt all of that was usually because of my parents, of my grandparents, of all of the people who created that magic for me. They added balloons and flowers and little rituals to create the festive mood. And as adults, many of us feel like that magic disappeared, when in reality, no one is creating that magic for us anymore. And at some point, I realized that I am the adult now. If I really want to, I can go and create this magic for myself. So one of the ways that I try to add this magic back into my life is saving important personal dates in my calendar and then celebrating them or maybe just acknowledging them. Not everything has to be super big. I can celebrate it in a small way, recognize it, smile, maybe journal about it, and move on. Now in my calendar, I don't just save birthdays and holidays, but I also try to add some personal milestones. Like the day I posted my very first YouTube video, or the day I moved abroad, or the day I graduated. Every year when those dates come up, they gently remind me that this mattered. Alright, the next way I want to show more love towards myself this year is replacing I should have known better with I was doing my best. Because I should have known better assumes that you had the emotional resources, the clarity, the information that you simply didn't at that time. It's so easy to look back at a past version of yourself and judge them with today's knowledge. But the truth is, you didn't make those choices with today's experience. You made them with what you had then. And at that moment, you really were doing your best. In psychology, this is something people call hindsight bias. Our brains are wired to believe that outcomes were predictable after the fact. And in those moments, what's happening in your brain is this. Once an outcome is known, your memory quietly reshapes the story to make the world feel more predictable and more logical, because our brains like certainty. And so So it creates the illusion that you should have known, even if you genuinely couldn't. And again, that usually only creates shame, which doesn't lead to growth. It leads to self-punishment and avoidance. And also, I have to add something here. Saying I was doing my best doesn't mean that everything I was doing was perfect. It means I was acting with the awareness, capacity, and emotional tools I had at the time. And the proof of growth is that now you see things differently. Alright, and finally, I want to talk about slowing down when you notice you're rushing. This happens to me so often. I'm walking somewhere, I have plenty of time, and then I'm realizing that for some reason I'm walking like extra quickly, super fast, as if I was rushing somewhere, even though I'm not. And I have to consciously remind myself that, Veronika, it's okay. You can start walking a little bit slower because you don't need to rush. You have plenty of time, you're not late. When I always do things quickly, I feel like my nervous system becomes ready to always like solve a problem or to tackle something. Like I'm always ready. My body starts acting as if something urgent is happening when nothing is. And I can see it everywhere, rushing while brushing my teeth or while cooking or while drinking water. So that is why right now I wouldn't consciously replace it with slowing down my pace. In a lot of cases, if you really think about it, you can allow yourself to step into the softness. You don't always have to rush. In simple words, by slowing down, you're trying to teach your body that it's safe to relax right now. This is why actually working with your body and like slowing down your body physically is so much more effective than telling yourself, calm down. Because the body doesn't respond well to commands. It responds so much better to physical cues. And movement, especially when you practice this flowy, fluid movement, is one of the fastest ways to change your internal state. So I think it's going to be it for today's video. I really hope you liked it. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments. Also, I want to add something. One of the biggest ways I've learned to love myself more is by teaching myself how to spend my money more intentionally. I want to understand why we buy what we buy and how often we try to fill emotional needs with things we purchase. So if you want to learn all the things I'm not buying in 2026 and why they are on my no buy list, click here. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you can, and I'll see you in my next video.